Hey, what's up, everyone? How tatted up are you? If you're not tattooed head to toe, you might be doing it wrong this league. I think they're one of the coolest things that have ever been added to Path of Exile. And the coolest thing is that it makes it really, really easy to smooth out your gear and very quickly buy things. Like, actually, very similar to, the fire to cold type of stuff. Like, these type of guys, I'm thinking of a lot of these, like, quality of life tattoos in that same vein of, hey, I'm trying to craft gear. I hit attributes instead of res. I hit the wrong type of res. We can take advantage of tattoos to fix a lot of this. There's also powerful offensive tattoos, or I guess this would be defensive as well for your auras. There's also really, really strong loyalty tattoos. So I just want to, very quickly talk about this and give you some food for thought on your build, and there might be some stuff you want to play around with. So just to talk about the tattoos that I'm using right now, we'll start with the summon tattoos. I am using the loyalty tattoo of Mata. You can only have one of these. They are buffed based on the number of tattoos you have of that tribe. I think this is the only one I have of this tribe. The one that I have does is it gives me flash charges while the summon is out, and that triggers when I hit low life. So if I'm fighting a boss and I take one really big hit, it will summon this person with an 80-second cooldown, so it's basically just once a fight. It'll bring them out, and it'll pretty much just fully recharge my flasks. Or if you're doing a really long Uber fight that might last a few minutes, there's a possibility that this triggers multiple times. Look through the loyalty tattoos. I'll link below the list of, all the ancestor items here. There's a bunch of these tattoos that do different things. They give you rage generation, energy shield recharge, stuff like that. You should almost definitely be using one of them if you can fit it into your build. Next up are the big attribute notable tattoos. You can only have one of these, but there's a couple things that you can do to take advantage of them, even if it's difficult for your build. So what this does is it will replace one of the notables for, beef or whatever, that then gives you +1 of that attribute. So you can replace beef with +1 to strength gems, anything similar like that. Now, the cool thing that people have discovered is you can actually anoint this. So, a difficult thing for witch would be to be able to get +1 int gems, because, many witches can't really get to these int nodes down here. And so what you can do is just anoint it on your amulet, or use something like the Breath Stealer gloves, any of the Blight uniques that give you additional anoints. So yeah, there's some play right there that you might want to consider. Next up, I want to talk about the Rongo Kurai Turtle. Also, I am entirely witch-centric here. I haven't explored all the tattoos for the other classes, so try to consider similar things for your class. But for the witch, for something that's traditionally kind of tricky to get, is reduced extra damage from critical strikes. You have it in areas that are not really close to us. Even then, if we took the curse and critical masteries, that's only 70% reduced extra damage. The cool thing with the Rongo Kurai Turtle is we can get 100% reduced extra damage, making us effectively immune to the extra damage from crits. It doesn't matter if the monster has more crit multi, that is just an additional multiplier at the end. So if it has 500 crit multi, it still goes to 0% if we have 100% reduced extra damage. If you're a witch, I think this is one of the best tattoos that you can toss in. It's going to really, really smooth out the damage coming in. I'm using 2 tattoos of the dove. This is a great way that you can just get some res. There's a lot of these for res. Like I said at the beginning, the way you want to think about this is attributes and res. They are suffixes on your gear. They are basically requirements. Like, unless you're a stat stacker, you're usually just looking at these to try to hit the bare minimum for how your build can work. If we look at my build, I am at 399 intelligence without tattoos. I don't need 399 int. I just happen to get it as I'm pathing through my tree. And if I can replace that intelligence with something more valuable for the build, that's obviously huge. And the big thing that's really hard for this build is getting enough dexterity. So what I've done is I've replaced a couple of my nodes. How many am I using? -40 strength and -40 int. I replaced all those because I actually ended up with way too many strength rolls on my items here. I hit this ring with 1 Essence of Delirium, and I hit good rolls, but I was in a situation where I didn't need strength. And I didn't want to roll over it because everything else on the ring was really nice. So what I was able to do is actually replace these 3 strength nodes. I -30 strength. I got back 12 strength, so it wasn't that much of a sacrifice. That way I gained 12 int and 12 dex. That allows me to more easily distribute the attributes across my build. And I think this is probably one of the go-tos for many builds. Now granted, strength and dex have more value, to be perfectly honest. Int is kind of like the black sheep of attributes, unless you're int stacking. So that's what I'm using on my build. The other ones I really want to call attention to right here, there is Recoup, where we got 2% damage recouped as life. Some people are using this to reach 100% recoup fairly easily. I think this one is very good. If you need ailment immunity or anything like that, these are really good. If you just need to smooth that out, get some additional chance to avoid something. The Velocco Stormrider, this one was really good. I used this one early. This was huge actually for my lightning coil right here. When I first equipped it on Saturday, I had to deal with losing 60 lightning res, and early on, you know, I have no currency. I'm just buying a lightning coil for 4 chaos on day 2. I just dropped 50 intelligence or so. I already had too much, and I was able to just fix my lightning res immediately. And that helps so much with gearing up my character. And then there's the Makanga tattoos, which are very interesting. They all have different requirements. So this one has maximum 1 adjacent passive skill allocated, which means you kind of need a dangler node. It's like you take 1 node here and then you would allocate it, because you can only be touching 1 node that is allocated. And then there's the opposite, which requires 7 adjacent passive skills allocated, which is very difficult. There's very few places on the tree that you can do that. So I would have to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'd have to take every single one of these, including these kind of like dead stats that no one's going to care about. Maybe it can fit into some builds. I don't know how many builds I've ever done that take every single adjacent node and all of the clusters touching it. Just for 8% curse effect, these feel a little weirdly balanced. This is the most expensive tattoo. I believe it is the #1 most expensive. Oh no, okay, so this is, the power charge is the most expensive, then the frenzy charge, and then the third highest is the +1 proj. And yeah, this is the only Makanga one that's really worth a ton. Anyway, that's the tattoos. Oh, I guess I can talk about the omens here really quick as well. The omens are pretty neat. They are things that sit in your inventory. You can only consume 1 per map or location, so you can't have like 10 in your inventory and just like chain them. If you just have 1 omen in your inventory, when the requirement happens, the prerequisite event, then the consequence of that event will trigger. So when you level up, you get an acceleration shrine. Like if you had a dozen of these in your inventory as you're leveling, this could be really, really fun just to do speed runs. I wouldn't be surprised if Havoc and his group are, you know, collecting a lot of these, and they're going to do some fun little tricks with that. Cool, fun one is Amelioration. This is worth about 15 to 20 chaos right now. Prevents 75% of your XP loss. If you're level 99, you're trying to level up, this can be really nice for, you know, offsetting that pain and the depression when you die. There's one for white sockets. There's one for 6 links. There's one for 6 sockets. The 6 socket one's pretty cheap right now. It's like 15 chaos. Definitely grab that if you're just trying to grab a quick little 6 socket. Omen of Fortune, this one's worth like 10 divines, 10, 15 divines, because it's a guaranteed trash to treasure, guaranteed unique off of a chance orb. The omens are really cool. I think these are a fun little thing to add to the game. Similar to charms, kind of like consumable charms from Diablo 2. I'm really, really liking the fun stuff they added with the League. Anyway, just a quick one for you guys today. I just wanted to talk about the tattoos and just give you some food for thought and what you might be missing in your build. If you're not tatted up all the way, there's probably a lot of like, you know, if you're deck stack, if you're at, you know, any attribute stacking, then obviously the tattoos are probably too much of a sacrifice for you. But besides that, you know, at the very least, look at the Tuatara right here. If you have too much of your primary attribute, if you're really struggling to get strength, dex, or int on your build, and you know your gear's not rolling exactly how you like, consider the humble Tuatara. I don't even know what the Tuatara is, but I'm a big fan. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'm gonna go get ready for the stream, and I'll see you on the ground. Goodbye.